Okay, so in this video, I'm going to be talking about my experience working for the clothing store Justice, and I have some notes here. So if you see me kind of going like this, I'm just looking at some notes. So I'm going to talk about my overall experience working there and what to expect when you go in for an interview, things that I liked about the experience, things I don't like about the experience, and some tips that I have if you are going for an interview or if you've gotten a job there. Justice is a clothing store aimed at tween girls, like elementary to middle school age girls. So that's the demographic that you'll mainly be working with. I worked there in October 2014, from October 2014 throughout the holiday season. So I was a seasonal hire. So I worked there for about 3 months. And basically, I just went online and applied for the position of brand rep. And a brand rep is basically like a sales associate. They just have a fancier name for it. I actually got a call from the manager to come in and do an interview. So I went in for the interview, and then a couple days after that, she called me to say that I got the job. So basically, you just go online to their website, which is, I think, justiceforgirls.com. You apply for the position of brand rep. Basically, the job of a brand rep is you interact with the customers. You are responsible for putting the merch on the floor and folding it. Also, sometimes run the cash register, and you are responsible for maintaining the store, which means the clothes are going to get messed up from time to time, so you have to refold them and put them back on hangers and just make them look nice. And sometimes when some items are getting low, you have to go in the back and get some more and put them back out on the floor. So they call it replenishing. And you also just have to clean. That generally takes place more towards the end of the shift if you're there at night. That's what the people closing do. They sweep the floor, they take out the garbage and that kind of thing. Brand reps are the main people that interact with the customers the most of anybody, I would say. You're basically like a sales associate, except you're not an actual salesperson. You don't make commission or anything like that, but you are interacting with the customers and assisting them with purchases and questions that they have about the merchandise and things like that. I recommend bringing a resume that has your contact info on it so that they have some way of remembering you, and they obviously need your phone number and things like that to be able to tell you if you got the job. It should have references. I would say 2 references, and if you've had previous employment experience, then obviously put down previous bosses that you've had. But if you don't have any previous employment experience, then I would say a teacher, a coach. If you're part of an extracurricular group, a group leader, that type of thing, somebody like that would be a good reference. Because I think when I went for an interview, my manager actually did call the references I had. I don't know if every manager will do that, but it's good to have references because it just makes you look better. If you don't have, obviously on the resume, if you have previous employment experience, whether it's retail or something else, you definitely want to put that because employers like to see that you've worked in other places. But if you don't have any previous experience, then you can put down extracurricular activities that you do or clubs that you're in. Also, it doesn't actually really make a difference if you've had previous experience or not, retail or otherwise. Justice is one of the few places that I know of that will hire because they realize that most of the people applying are teenage girls in high school, college, that probably haven't had a lot of previous experience. So Justice is one of the few places I know of that will hire, even if you've never had a job or if you don't have any retail experience. So some of the questions they'll ask, it could depend on where you go and what manager you get, but I should think that at least some of the stuff they ask would be standard in every situation. My manager asked, obviously, if I've had any previous experience, if I had any retail experience and that kind of thing. They might ask what your hobbies and interests are, because working in a clothing store, it is a fun environment and it's a creative environment. So I think if you say I love fashion, or I love to be creative, I love bright colors, whatever. Like, that shows that you have like an interest in the job. I think they would also ask if you are going to school or college, if you have other jobs or like internships, because that obviously affects their scheduling, and they will work around things like that, which is really good. They just need to be aware, like, if you can't come in on certain days or times. It's really important that you make them aware if you are going to school or something like that. They will also ask you scenario type questions, like, if you were in this situation, what would you do? One of the questions that I got asked was, if you saw your coworker stealing, what would you do? And I guess they just want to see like how honest you are. So I just said like I would let the manager know. One of the other like interesting, unique parts of the interview that doesn't really happen in other interviews is they'll ask you to go out onto the floor, and they give you as much time as you need to like look around at all the merchandise and stuff, but they ask you to pick out an outfit from head to toe, and they give you specific parameters, like saying that the girl loves pink, or the girl is going to a school dance or something like that, and you're supposed to pick out an entire outfit as if there was like a customer that came in and asked for an entire outfit. So definitely pay attention to like the specific directions that they give you. And when they say head to toe, they mean literally head to toe. Like, so don't forget to include like hats or like headbands, scarves, bags, shoes, like everything. Don't be afraid to include like accessories, like I said, like scarves, bags, because obviously the more merchandise someone buys, the more money that the store makes, and so it's good to show them that you're conscientious of that. Don't like load it up with extra stuff, because obviously people will see that you're giving them all the stuff to buy, and people generally don't want to buy a ton of stuff. So I would say like, you know, a dress with a bag, shoes, and then a hat or whatever. They just want to see that if a customer came in and asked for an entire outfit, which like never happens, but if someone did come in and ask you to put an outfit together with like these specific parameters, that you were capable of doing it. After the interview, you'll probably wait a couple days or whatever, and the manager will call you and let you know if you got the job. What to expect on your first day or your first shift is basically just training. They'll have you watch a bunch of DVDs, but they explain like the store policies. They have these things called J-Bucks and Fun Cards, and they explain how those work. They also explain a lot of helpful stuff, like, so like they explain stuff about the store, like their policies and things like that, but they also explain things about how to work in retail in general. Like, they explain how to spot theft, how to deal with like different kinds of customers, and all that is really useful. Like, that's something that I still kind of carry with me to this day. Like, even though I don't work there anymore and I don't work in retail anymore, I think it was really cool how they showed you how to spot theft. Especially, they basically said like, if someone walks into a store and you ask them like, hey, how are you, can I help you, and they're like, no, and like they're very standoffish and like they're like acting weird and stuff, that's kind of a tip off that they might be trying to steal something. So you're trained how to kind of deal with that situation if you think that someone's gonna steal, and like if someone does steal, you're trained how to handle that and stuff. So that was like something that I found to be really cool and helpful. Like, that's something that I personally still carry with me. Like, I think this knowledge of how to work in retail can be useful even after you've, you know, ended your job there. They also give you a handbook that explains basically the same stuff but in writing, and they explain like how their sales work and their store policies and the J-Buck and Fun Cards. They also will give you an ID badge that basically is just a badge that you wear around your neck and has your name on it, and you have to wear that when you're working. You will also get a login, like ID and password, which you need to be able to not only clock in and out, but it's also what you use when you go to the cash register, because each salesperson has their own ID, so the receipt needs to show who checked the customer out. So you have to, every time you make a purchase, you have to type in your login thing, so that shows which sales rep did the transaction. At least for me, like on my second or third shift was when they showed me how to use the cash register. I didn't really get to do the cash register very much, and the register is a little bit difficult to get a hold of at first. It does take practice at it,